The town of White Pines, Michigan, was the kind of place where winter felt endless. Snow covered the roads, the trees stood bare, and by nightfall, the streets were almost silent. Mark Wilson, 32 years old, had lived there his whole life. He wasn't rich, wasn't special, just a quiet man who worked at a hardware store and spent most evenings alone. Until he met Emily. They met by accident in a small coffee shop downtown. Emily always sat by the window, staring outside like she was waiting for something or someone. She spoke softly, smiled rarely, and never talked much about her past. Mark didn't mind. For the first time in years, he felt seen. After 6 months together, Mark made a decision. On Valentine's Day, he would propose. February 14th arrived wrapped in snow and silence. Mark chose a quiet lake just outside town, frozen solid, surrounded by tall pine trees. He placed candles along the shore, red roses in the snow, and a small velvet box in his pocket. At exactly 9 p.m., Emily appeared. She looked different that night. Her skin was pale, almost gray, and her breath didn't fog the cold air the way Mark's did. But she smiled, and that was enough. Mark dropped to one knee. "Emily," he said, his voice shaking, "from the moment I met you, my life changed. Will you marry me?" For a long moment, Emily said nothing. Then she nodded. "Yes," she whispered. Relief and happiness washed over Mark as he slid the ring onto her finger. That's when he noticed something wrong. Her hand was ice cold. Not cold from the winter, cold like it had never known warmth. Emily leaned forward and hugged him. Mark froze, her body felt weightless. Her arms felt weak, like shadows wrapped around him. She leaned close to his ear and whispered, "Thank you for keeping your promise." Mark pulled back. "Promise?" he asked. "What promise?" Emily's smile slowly faded. Her eyes darkened, empty, lifeless. The candles flickered violently as a cold wind rushed through the trees. Then, right before Mark's eyes, Emily stepped backward and slowly faded into the falling snow. Gone, the candles went out. The lake was silent again. Mark stood alone, trembling, holding the empty ring box. The next morning, Mark went straight to the police station. He told them everything. The officer listening to him stopped typing halfway through. "Did you say her name was Emily Carter?" the officer asked quietly. "Yes," Mark said. "That's my fiancée." The officer's face turned pale. He turned the computer screen toward Mark. There was Emily's photo. Under it were words that made Mark's knees buckle. Emily Carter died in a car accident February 14. 1 year ago, her car had slid off the road and crashed into the frozen lake. Her body was found near the same spot where Mark had proposed. Mark stumbled out of the station, his mind racing. That night, he returned to the lake. The snow had started falling again. Near the water's edge, something reflected the moonlight, the ring. It lay perfectly on the ice, the same ring he had placed on Emily's finger. Mark picked it up with shaking hands. Behind him, snow crunched softly. A familiar voice whispered, "You finally came back." Mark turned around. Emily stood there. Her dress was soaked, her hair dripping, her eyes dark and hollow. Thin trails of blood ran from the corners of her eyes. "You promised," she said calmly. "You said you'd never leave me." "I didn't know," Mark cried. "I swear I didn't know." Emily tilted her head. "Love doesn't end with death," she said. "It only waits." The ice beneath Mark's feet cracked. He screamed as the frozen lake shattered and pulled him down into the black water. The next morning, search teams found nothing. No body, no footprints, only a single ring frozen into the ice and a folded note beside it. It read, "Forever means forever." In the quiet suburbs of Portland, Oregon, where houses looked identical and nights felt unusually silent, lived a woman named Laura Bennett. Laura was 35 years old, recently divorced, and living alone for the first time in her life. The house felt too big yet too empty. Valentine's Day had always been just another date on the calendar for her, but this year it felt different, heavier, lonelier. On the morning of February 14th, Laura opened her front door and froze. A large cardboard box sat on her porch. No delivery truck in sight. No footsteps in the snow, just a box. She dragged it inside and noticed a red heart sticker on the lid. Inside was a giant brown teddy bear nearly as tall as her waist. The bear held a stitched red heart that read, "I'll always be with you." Laura frowned. She checked the box again. No name, no note, no sender. Still, she smiled. For the first time in weeks, someone had thought of her. That evening, Laura placed the teddy bear on a chair facing her bed. She cooked dinner, watched TV, and tried to relax, but she kept glancing toward the bedroom. The teddy bear's eyes seemed to follow her. She laughed nervously. "Get a grip," she muttered. At 11:58 p.m., she turned off the lights and went to bed. At 12:07 a.m., a sound woke her, a soft scratching, like fingernails against fabric. Laura's heart raced. She sat up and stared into the darkness. The sound came again, scratch from the chair. Then she heard it, a faint child's laugh. Laura whispered, "Hello." The scratching stopped. Silence filled the room. After a long moment, she lay back down, telling herself it was stress, exhaustion, imagination. She woke up screaming. The teddy bear was standing at the foot of her bed, not sitting, standing. Its stitched smile looked wider. Its glass eyes reflected the moonlight. Laura jumped up, slammed the bedroom door, and locked it. Her hands shook as she waited for something, anything. Nothing happened. In the morning, the bear was back on the chair, exactly where she had left it. Laura didn't go near it. She left for work early, her stomach in knots. That afternoon, police cars lined her street. An officer stopped her at the door. "Ma'am, we're investigating a missing child in this neighborhood." Laura's chest tightened. The child had vanished 2 weeks earlier. No leads, no witnesses. That night, Laura couldn't sleep. From the chair, the teddy bear began to whisper, softly. "Don't tell, don't tell." Laura covered her ears. Then she smelled it, a sour, rotten odor coming from the bear. Her fear turned into anger. She grabbed a kitchen knife and approached the teddy bear. Up close, she noticed dark stains near the stitching. Her hands trembled as she stabbed it. The blade tore through the fabric. Something fell out, long strands of human hair. Then a small shoe, a child's shoe. Laura screamed and collapsed to the floor. The teddy bear slumped forward. Its head rolled toward her. Its mouth moved. "You said you wouldn't leave me." Police arrived minutes later. Inside the teddy bear, they found remains belonging to the missing child. The case horrified the entire city. The bear was destroyed, burned. Laura moved out weeks later, trying to forget everything. 1 year later, Valentine's Day again. Laura sat alone in her new apartment. The doorbell rang. A small box waited outside, wrapped in red paper. Inside was a tiny teddy bear keychain. Attached was a note. "You kept me safe." Behind her, a child's voice whispered, "I'm still with you." In a quiet, tree-lined neighborhood in Boston, Massachusetts, Samantha Hayes lived in a small apartment that always felt half empty. Samantha was 38, recently widowed, though her husband, Daniel, had died 10 years ago on Valentine's Day in a car accident. For Samantha, Valentine's Day was always painful, a reminder of the love she had lost. But this year felt different. The air outside was unusually still, and the winter night pressed against the windows like a silent observer. That morning, Samantha found an envelope slipped under her door. No return address, no stamp. She picked it up and froze. The handwriting was familiar, the looping letters, the small heart over each I. It was Daniel's handwriting. "Happy Valentine's Day, my love. I miss you more than words can say." Samantha's hands trembled. Her heart raced. She laughed nervously, thinking it must be a cruel prank, but her stomach twisted with unease. By noon, there was another envelope. "Do you remember our first dance? I'm still dancing with you." The handwriting, every stroke was unmistakable. Her pulse quickened. She called her sister, trying to laugh it off. "No one could do this." It's impossible," she said, though her voice shook. Her sister tried to reassure her, but even she sensed something was wrong. Evening came. Samantha's apartment grew colder. Shadows stretched long and twisted along the walls. From her desk, the letters seemed to slide slightly, as if nudged by an invisible hand. One by one, the envelopes piled up, each one more personal, more intimate than the last. They described moments only Samantha and Daniel could have shared. The scent of the roses he gave her the night they met. The music they danced to at their wedding. The whispered promises under the stars. By the time night fell, there were 10 letters, and Samantha's fear had grown into a heavy, suffocating dread. At exactly midnight, the apartment went completely silent. No ticking clocks, no hum of the heater. Then she heard it. A faint creak, the sound of the bedroom door opening. Her pulse raced. A chill ran down her spine. "Daniel," she whispered, voice shaking. A shadow appeared in the corner of the room. Tall, dark, yet unmistakably him. "I've waited for you," the voice said, soft and haunting. Samantha's eyes filled with tears, fear, grief, longing all at once. "You're here," she whispered. The shadow moved closer, and the letters on her desk began to lift, spinning slowly in the air. Each one glowed faintly, illuminating the room with an eerie, pale light. "We never said goodbye," Daniel whispered. "And now, I can't let you go again." Samantha backed into a corner. Her apartment felt unreal, suspended in time. She could see his face clearly now, pale and almost translucent, yet full of emotion. The warmth she remembered from him was gone, replaced by something heavier, something unearthly. One letter floated directly to her hands. "This year I'm coming to take you with me." Samantha's breathing became shallow. She screamed, clutching the letter. The shadow moved closer, reaching toward her. Time seemed to stretch. The room spun. The temperature dropped so quickly that her breath formed clouds. The letters swirled around her, each one whispering, "You promised, you promised." Samantha remembered the vows they had made. "Forever," he had said. She hadn't realized how literal that promise could be. Suddenly, the shadow stopped. The letters fell to the ground, scattered and silent. Daniel's figure flickered, almost like a candle flame, before vanishing completely. Morning came slowly. Samantha woke on the floor, the room in disarray. All the letters were gone, no trace of him, except one envelope lay at her feet. Until next year, her hands trembled as she picked it up. She didn't dare open it. She could hear a faint whisper behind her, soft and childlike. "I'll be waiting always." The wind outside blew through the bare trees. The apartment was quiet again. But Samantha knew, come next Valentine's Day, the letters would return. And with them, Daniel would return too.